say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level morality.
I get paid to science?
Two sciences as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
All right. To
Welcome
those
to the
listening
Infidel
live, yeah. To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production that focuses on science outreach and education. We'll try our hand at teaching you a little bit about common skeptical topics, logical fallacies, errors in reasoning, as well as a bit about religious apologetics. You can listen live every second Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Spreaker, and you can get full-length ad-free episodes by becoming a patron at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast.
Did you just tell them they can listen live?
Yes.
But aren't we recording this for 2 weeks from now?
Yes.
So,
They can listen live every second Friday, or they can listen through iTunes.
I don't understand.
No, I'm not surprised.
Holy fuck.
See, the key word there was listen, and Gumby.
No. What I'm saying is, if there are people that are going to listen to this when they hear it on the thing
Okay, say they're listening to it on iTunes.
next week,
Right.
right when this show airs,
Okay.
and then so they can listen every 2 weeks live,
Right.
But it's not live.
But that's not what this says.
I feel that that's what you're trying to say.
Okay.
Your feelings are wrong.
For this week's Shift to Reason Radio, we're going to spend some more time learning about the rest of the crew.
Can
Last
we skip,
time we,
you know who there, please?
No, Dave's an integral part of the show.
Oh!
last
Wasn't
episode
talking
we
about
talked
Dave.
to Leo, Lisa,
Mike
and
mute.
Renee.
Mike mute.
Is that because
coming
he's
up.
brown?
I was talking about you, fuckface.
were
Director
you
Dave,
still
where's
talking,
that
Corey?
sound effect we
Yes,
were
I
talking
was.
about before?
I should have queued it up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Next time.
All right. So no, I'm done now. I said last week we talked to Lisa, Renee, and Leo, and this week we have Angela, you, Dave, and if we get around to it, I'll.
No, we need a full hour on you next time, Corey.
Corey
do a
special.
whole show.
I don't
we
have
want
an
to
hour.
probe. We want to probe.
We're going to do a confirmation hearing-esque cross-examination.
Just answer the question, Corey.
Yeah.
I've known Corey for 24 years. There isn't an hour of content.
Not that
You
interesting.
guys are so mean to I each like
all
Corey.
the time.
God. You guys are so mean.
That's probably. We're only mean to each other.
Well,
so,
isn't that
yeah.
the way? Isn't that the old jokes? Like, you know, good friends will be the one. It's like, you know, a friend will say, "Hey, how's your day?" A good friend will say, "Hey, fuckface, what the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, that's right.
Fair enough.
Your friend might bail you out of jail. Your best friend will tell you to fucking suck it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
In jail?
Yeah.
In jail.
In jail.
I hope you learned your lesson, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I think we should start with Angela today, though.
God, okay.
So I guess,
I love Angela.
how did we start this before?
Who doesn't?
Angela loves Angela. How did we start that? I don't remember.
We just started asking people things about stuff.
Okay, so
Angela, how did you become an atheist?
yeah, that's
Oh. Well, it was
Time's up. Next.
as far back as like when I was 12, I think. That was when I was like, wait, I cannot go to church. Like I did this thing where like seconds before it was time to leave to go to church, I'd be like, I'm not going. Just pitch a fit like right before.
Really?
And it worked a couple times. And I was just like, I kind of fucking like this. But at the time I didn't swear because I was 12 and I, wanted to convert all my friends because I thought that was what you were supposed to do. And, it was hardcore. It was hardcore. But then I got a job out of high school that...
Wait, sorry. So you had a very religious upbringing. What was the
Horrendously.
name of the religious sect that...
what
type of...
I'm a
crazy were you?
cultural Mennonite. My mom came from a Mennonite Brethren church. My dad grew up in a strict Mennonite sect. And they went to a Christian Missionary Alliance church, which is pretty traditional for a Protestant religion. It's maybe like a little bit up from like Lutheran, maybe slightly. And
Your upbringing was pretty fucking nutball, though.
Yeah, it was. Well, and you know what? And I was an auntie when I was 13. My brother in grade 12, he
procreated.
He procreated. I mean, it wasn't
with
without
a
controversy.
wife?
Mm-hmm. Well, they weren't married. She was like 15.
I would have not have thought so.
So I have a 20.
But I've known some religious people got married very young, which is why I ask, because I know some religious people got married at 18 or whatever.
All
so
my
they could have sex.
Did. All my friends did. It was like, fuck, well, I want to get married, but I never dated. Because
always good to dream of getting married at 18.
I had crushes on
it's a
people,
good idea.
and they weren't into me, and then it was like, no, the guy I had a crush on in high school was like, no, we're just going to be friends. And so
I'm into you, Angela.
Your feeling is definitely mutual. But
well, that's not exclusive to religious craziness. So, like,
no.
Jen became an aunt when she was 17 or 18, and her sister is 3 years younger than her.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no, lots of people have children when they're teenagers. I just mean some religious people will get married that young and intentionally have children that young, which is sort of not normally how it happens for us heathens.
Well, it happened a lot. Like, there was a rash of weddings, like, right around the time that I graduated, and I was just getting out of, like, starting to realize that I could make my own decisions and choose not to attend certain things. My parents asked me to go to church with them, like, every Sunday until I was probably... It was a good 6 or 7 years till I finally was like, don't just stop asking me to go to church. I don't want to go to church with you anymore. At that time in like 2004, I didn't identify as a Christian, but the atheism thing wasn't even on my radar like 13 years
just
ago.
A-religious maybe.
Yeah, like I was still like universe and it's meant to be and stuff like that, and I was intrigued about paranormal shit, and that stuff really interested me, but I didn't really have it wasn't really anything that was important to me at the time. It wasn't until I met and married a guy who had a similar outlook of having been brought up in a religious home and went to university and realized that the people that he hung out with were cool even though they were atheists, and that's how he became an atheist, and he ended up challenging my beliefs. And then I read God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens, and
that'll do it.
That was essentially the nail in the coffin for me.
Never read that one.
It's good. I'll lend you my copy because it's fantastically written, and I got so much out of it. And that was what kind of was the catalyst for me to, seek out people who thought the same. And I needed to kind of have a community and stuff, because it was like a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
You're a baby atheist.
Yeah.
A wee little baby.
I'm a baby atheist for sure. But I mean, that's the thing. Like I like labels, and I like putting things in containers in my brain to, this is this, and like hearing what makes people tick, what motivates people. That's really intriguing to me. And I had kind of done the stepmom, stepfamily thing for a while, and that was like kind of all encompassing. But then, Jesus,
Gonna be sharing memes on our live broadcast.
Yes.
Dave is.
I just showed Gumby. He screwed it up. Sorry, Angela.
That's good. That's
That
good.
was-
It's
that
a
was
good
me.
meme, though. It's a good
good
meme.
one.
But
No, I don't like the analogy. But anyways,
yeah, that's how I became an atheist, and I've questioned it for a really long time. I've questioned it for probably 20 some years, but I haven't identified as such. I desperately wanted to believe that God was real and believe that 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 warm fuzzy feeling I felt after I was baptized was Jesus, God's presence. I wanted that so badly, but I just haven't had a really warm bath and put some clean clothes on.
have you seen Julius Sweeney's?
Not yet, no.
Letting Go of God. Is that what it's called? It's
Yep, that's
it's
right.
spectacular. I think you'll
check it out.
identify. You will identify with it very
I'd say
strongly.
almost every atheist
It's beautiful.
really wish that God was real.
At some point.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
like
I mean,
even as an
and
atheist.
'cause I felt-
I really wish
'cause I
there was
felt
some
like-
afterlife
I felt
or
like
something or a reason.
I felt like I wasn't as cool as all the other ones. I felt like I didn't have.
You weren't a cool atheist.
Yeah, I wasn't a cool Christian because I was like,
yeah.
you guys, wait, you have a relationship? Like I can pray till my voice is sore, but I can't. I'm not
Nothing's
getting anything
back, eh?
Yeah, I'm not getting any feedback.
Oh, you
feel
didn't
like
know
this
about the
thing's
making
working.
shit up
Well,
part. That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah, it started to
They
feel
weren't
like
praying
you did
into a
something wrong.
hairdryer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the right way to do it.
Then your
Quote
hair's dry.
George Carlin, some people pray to God. I pray to Joe Pesci. Yeah, you get about the same results, about the same.
Exactly.
Fucking
Yeah.
love Joe Pesci. Is he the one in Home Alone?
Yep.
Yeah, he is.
Love that fucking man.
He definitely
And he
is.
has his little blowtorch. He's like, ah! Yeah, I love that.
Oh, classic.
I gotta pray to him.
So, okay, so you grew up pretty religious
Yep.
and you became an atheist and you were looking for a community but didn't find anything for a few years
Well, it
or
was
a couple of years.
It was. I mean, after conversations that I had, and it was probably about a year, and then I got onto the Thinking Atheist podcast. That was also pivotal. I didn't just get hitch slapped, but I got converted by Seth Andrews and his
Yeah.
incredibly
His voice. It's just
adequate
the
voice.
Adequate. Yeah.
Does he have a sexy voice?
Oh my god!
Really? Oh my god, I'm still listening to this. No.
No.
Oh.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
I'm being,
And
I'm
it's his
being
actual
intentionally.
voice.
It's
That's
his actual voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and-
in
and-
person, that's his real
Oh,
voice.
I am.
Lisa, let me just tell you.
Okay.
You'll listen to an episode.
Just talk to me. Look in my eyes.
and,
don't look
and
at
you'll
them.
have
Let's have a moment
you'll
together.
You'll have immediately you'll react to that voice.
Okay.
It's like eggnog. Like rum and eggnog, like dark rum and eggnog. That's kind of, and he could read the phone book, and it would be riveting.
I'm
So-
riveted by
so
your
think about
voice
that, and then-
describing his voice.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm riveted by my own voice.
Who's got the sexiest voice on our podcast? Other than me and you, obvious.
Dave.
Oh, yeah.
No,
It's easily Dave.
We need a sample.
Dave.
I don't.
It's easily
Dave.
Dave.
I go with Gumby.
No,
It
Dave.
might be Dave.
I think
Not a
it's Dave.
terrible
I think we
voice.
vote for Dave.
I go for Angela.
What?
She does. She has
Well,
the most
yeah,
beautiful
Angela-
liquid
Yeah,
voice.
but she
I thought-
said
yeah.
besides
Yeah,
them.
that's right. It was supposed to be
does.
besides
Yeah, but-
Angela.
Besides the obvious.
Besides,
Yeah.
But I'm
Leo,
inclusive.
Leo's actually got a pretty
Leo's
good
got a good
voice.
Leo
voice.
does have a good voice. That's right.
I miss Raz's voice. Raz was like, "Hey guys," more like that.
Or
Hey man, it's fucking late. Okay, like
no, that was Raz.
No, he fell asleep a few times. So
Yeah,
amazing.
you'd have to see the Raz statue. was-
okay. I'll download all previous Brainstorm podcasts and listen to them all.
Yeah,
You don't
some,
wanna
of
do
the,
that.
some of the statuing may have gotten edited out or been talked over. But if suddenly there's a moment when Raz isn't participating anymore, when he was not long ago, that's what happened.
Okay. If you download Thinking Atheist, download their Ghost Stories podcasts that he does every Halloween.
Yeah.
And there's the ones that he did that story about Abraham with that one guy wrote. The 2 stories that that's
right.
Forget what, they were phenomenal. They
Yeah,
were just
they're-
kind of loosely based on a Bible story, but he elaborated on it a little bit. Those are
they're
good
intense.
ones. Those are very good.
More
And
stories
there's-
for Angela. Or
Yeah,
questions.
yeah. More questions for Angela.
You guys should stop
Guys?
derailing things all the time.
Yeah, Gumby.
Yeah, jeez, what do you want to know? I'll tell you anything. Seriously.
AMA with Angela.
Okay, what is the most important issue of our times,
I think,
according to you?
according to me, the most important issue of our time is, like I said before, it's something near and dear to my heart. We don't listen. We don't have good conversations anymore. We don't have truly reciprocal conversations with people
Not climate
anymore.
change.
Not climate change.
Climate change might be solved if we could have
gone.
But I think
conversations.
No, it got solved already.
I think so much could be done if we actually spoke to each other and listened and tried to find common ground with people that are different from us, because that just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It's excruciating for me, because I feel like a kid in a candy store, because I have this, starting to identify as an atheist for me was incredibly exciting, because I actually was able to question stuff, and I was actually able to start asking questions and researching stuff. And previously I was never allowed to question. I was never allowed to doubt. And now that I am, it's like, oh, this is fucking awesome. I want to do this. I want to have these conversations with people, and nobody fucking wants to.
Yeah.
Some people do. You have
Some
to,
people
we have
do,
to
and I
work on that.
think that's partly why I'm a part of this, because we can have those conversations in this kind of an environment. But on social media,
Should any topics be taboo?
I don't think so.
Because I'm just thinking of to bring it up a lot, I guess, but I listened to a Sam Harris podcast from a few months back where he talks about race relations with a black professor, and it was just very, because you'd think like that's a radioactive sort of topic, but
I don't think anything should
But they
be
talked
off
about it, and
limits.
I thought in a very reasonable way. I mean, like maybe they said things that people would disagree with, but
Yeah.
it wasn't charged. It was listening.
I think that's important, and I think that's what we need to have, those kinds of conversations, especially about the things that are taboo. Like we need to start talking, like being a part of this podcast, I've learned so much, and I've done a lot of listening as much as I've done talking, and probably more listening than talking.
You are the best listener of us. So you.
Most of the time, it's like I don't have anything that I can add to. I don't know much about this topic, so I have to listen. So
That's strange, because we all consider you a very integral part of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're all
Thank
just
you.
talking over each other otherwise and not actually listening.
We've actually gotten a lot better than we used to be.
It used to be pretty bad.
well, you've been doing it for you. You guys are experienced.
Ish.
Experience doesn't mean good.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's the big issue. Definitely.
All right. And is there anything else you'd like to discuss? Something that you'd like to share about yourself?
Coke or Pepsi?
The listeners don't know.
Coke, but it has to have booze in it.
So no Pepsi at all?
If it's the only thing in my fridge and I have rum that I need to drink like right now.
Yeah, because rum has an expiry date.
Or I just had
The scenario happens to you a
or I
lot.
had to just talk to my husband's ex or something like that. Then yes, rum has to happen right now.
Yeah. So you're married and you have 2 children?
I have one child that came out of my uterus, but 2 other ones of my husband that
For a total of 3.
Came out of your
Stepchildren.
husband's
3.
uterus.
My husband's uterus. Yeah,
We need to get him on the show.
yeah. He's a fun guy.
Yeah.
If he's got a uterus, that's an interesting interview.
He's got a deuterus.
uterus.
Aw.
Yeah, 3 kids and a husband. It'll be 7 years this August. that
And
I've
what's
been
the
married.
level of religiosity in your home? Like, is it even talked about?
we talk about it because both of our, like my parents and my in-laws are both really religious, and they're very, very outspoken about it. And when my 4-year-old goes to the grandparents to be babysat, I mean, there's VeggieTales and there's, prayer and there's all that stuff. So it comes up. And so she talks about, I believe in God, we should pray and stuff like that. And so just trying to navigate that stuff and trying to help her and not necessarily influence her in any way, but just to show her like, okay, some people don't believe in God. Some people do. And this is what, that's something that I'm still navigating and trying to decide how I'm going to deal with that.
That's something you'll always be navigating.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's funny. That's something I totally edit out of everything in my sons. I don't even want to discuss it. I've never brought it up with him. So like I remember reading a book about the invisible string of love that's between you, like the kid and everyone that they know. And then there's one part where the child asks, "Does my invisible string reach all the way to?" And it says to Uncle Bob in heaven. And I when I first saw that, I was like, "Does my invisible string reach all the way to Uncle Bob, who is dead?" That's how I read, and now that's how we read it. And it's just
I do the same thing with the
God
VeggieTales book
completely.
we have. Yeah.
What the fuck is VeggieTales?
I got
VeggieTales
a
is
story about
Religious
VeggieTales.
cartoons.
Yeah.
So this is funny because
Fucking
I'm an
catchy
atheist
shit.
and a parent.
Yeah.
And my first experience with VeggieTales was a Pirates who don't do anything,
Those guys are funny.
which is actually
which is really good.
Yeah.
And there's nothing religious about that movie,
Right.
At all. So I'm like, oh, VeggieTales is awesome. And then like next day, Loki's like, VeggieTales? I'm like, sure. Oh, here, there's a bunch on Netflix. Started watching it. I'm like, holy fuck! What have
That's
I
VeggieTales.
done?
It's religious.
Oh my god, it's
I've
super
never seen
religious.
it.
religious.
But, okay.
It's super
Yeah,
religious.
the only one only place I've ever seen VeggieTales is parodied on Drawn Together.
Yeah.
So I might have a warped view of VeggieTales.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. That's funny. But I think like being a parent and I don't want my child to believe in God. I don't want my child to be indoctrinated in any way. I want her to think critically, and I want her to think I want her to be respectful of others. And it's hard to navigate that. It's hard to, not say no, God is not real. It's just when she talks about, Christmas and stuff like that, or Bible stuff, then I just say it's stories.
Yeah, I tell my son asks me that all the time. He's like, "Mommy, was that movie real? Is Iron Man real?" I'm like, "No, Iron Man's pretend."
Yeah.
And I always, if he asks me a question, I try to explain it to him. The only exception to that though is Santa Claus, right?
Really?
Okay.
Well, because I told him Santa Claus exists in our house because it's fucking awesome, right? You get toys and he comes, but I don't know.
I have issues with the
He doesn't
elf on
think
the shelf,
critically.
though.
Oh yeah, I know.
You know the elf on the
Agreed.
shelf's name?
No,
Chippy.
it's got a name.
Really?
Yeah,
It's kind of
his
funny. In
actual
our
name.
That is
house,
funny.
that popped up once, and we were quick to go, no, that's bullshit.
Mommy's not fucking doing that.
Yes.
Kid. That's just not
instill
happening.
fear in kids. Don't be bad, kids, because the elf is going to tell Santa Claus.
No, I still tell him that. No, I do because
Okay.
it's just something. And I'm driving, and of course I swear a lot in the car. And my mom's, and I'm like, "Fuck, asshole!" Blah, blah. And then my son's like, "Mom, the elves are listening."
Nice. You're going to
Oh
get coal in your stocking.
Yeah, exactly.
With swearing, because Loki is 7 and on the spectrum, we've always just told him that they're adult words.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't want him to swear or learn his own vernacular. I want him to understand what he's saying before he actually says it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm never going to try to edit him. But anyway,
My
think
son
that's
always
fair.
uses the words in the right context. I don't think he knows what they mean, but he.
Yeah.
talking about Angela. Sorry.
No, I don't know. If you guys want to know anything, I'd be happy to tell you. But I think
don't know.
that's pretty much it.
Okay.
I think.
Anybody else got anything?
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/Brainstorm Podcast Gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off.
Hello, Elon Dubrovsky here, local podcaster and science enthusiast. Are your podcasts spewing too much bunk all the time? Are your podcasts constantly making things up, driving you crazy? Are your podcasts full of shit? Think there's no answer? You're so stupid! There is! The Reality Check. Finally, there is a fun, skeptical Canadian podcast.
The San Francisco Hospital study on
on paper
origami. Come on, guys, let me just...
Can you make a reel of Elon's paper shuffling? Yeah. Make it like...
That sounds amazing! Is your music player a computer, a phone, or an in-between? That doesn't matter, because we work on all platforms. The Reality Check. You'll be checked. So head on down to trcpodcast.com. That's the home of the Reality Check. Subscribe.
All right.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thanks
So let's move on.
Thanks for listening.
It's like AA, Atheists Anonymous.
Atheists Anonymous.
Yeah.
Like
My
not
name's
so anonymous.
Gumby. I'm an atheist.
Hi, Gumby.
Hi, Gumby.
Hi, Gumby.
It suddenly becomes the man prayer from Red Green. I'm an atheist.
I'm sorry. Wait, what was it? What was it?
I'm a man.
I could do better. I could
change if I have to. I guess.
Yeah.
That's it. I love Red Green.
Yeah. All right, Gumby. What do you got?
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
Have you always been an atheist?
No.
Well, like everybody else, I was born an atheist
Okay.
because everybody's born an atheist.
But you were indoctrinated?
No, I indoctrinated myself
Okay.
when I was young. Not really as a super religious person, but just because it was. When I was raised, I lived in a bunch of different homes all over the country.
Okay.
My mom ran a magazine sales company, so I've lived all over Canada and always with a different family every year. So I traveled a lot. And when you go to a different school once, sometimes twice a year, you don't bother trying to make friends anymore. There's just no point. So instead, I hung out with my families that I stayed with, and some of them ended up being religious. And so I started reading Bible stories.
Okay.
The problem with that is Bible stories for kids don't fucking relate to the Bible in any way at all. So I read all the Happy Rainbow crap.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I loved my children's Bible. I loved it growing up. I had
too.
several.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too.
It was all
Like
Happy
pictures of
Rainbows.
camels and
Really cool costumes.
fucking
and shit.
amazing.
So it's at the point where I started making my mom go to midnight mass.
Oh.
And my grandma actually wanted to take me away from my mom because my mom wasn't forcing me into church.
Okay.
And my mom's view on it was, because I'm an only child of a single parent, not because my dad left, it's because we left him.
Okay.
My mom said that a person's religion is a really important decision, and they should be the ones making it.
Yeah.
So she wasn't going to force me to believe or not believe. My mom's an atheist. She's agnostic, actually.
So she's an atheist.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is no difference. Because every atheist, well, there is a difference. Every atheist is agnostic.
Yeah, well, everybody who identifies as agnostic is an atheist who just doesn't want to admit it.
Right. But every atheist will identify as agnostic.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we'll accept proof once we have it. That's all it means. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, so she said that, it's up to me to decide if I want to have a religion when I'm older, and that was it. So, and I did go to a Catholic school by choice, not because it was a Catholic school, because it was a highly regarded private school.
Okay.
And my teachers, before I went to that private school, were saying that I was a goof off in class, I wasn't paying attention, and I was getting 90s. And I needed to be challenged. So they sent me there.
Okay.
So that was the only year that I did an entire school year and finished with a 99.
Wow.
Because one teacher wouldn't give hundreds, right? And then I moved
But
to
you're
Weyburn.
not bitter about this.
He remembers it, though.
Yeah, well, that was grade 7. And then I moved to Weyburn and stopped caring.
Which was easy in Weyburn.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
But you have the KFC buffet, so awesome!
Fuck yeah.
Which, I said before, I think I've gone once.
Nachos and cheese for days.
I drove there. I drove to Weyburn. The only time I've ever been. I went just for the buffet.
Nice.
I did.
Well, that's a disappointment.
It was
What
not
a
a disappointment, my
waste.
friend. It was a deliciousness.
It's one of my favorite sins is overindulgence at the KFC.
I thought you were going to say going to Weyburn.
Fucking amazing.
Can we record a podcast at the KFC buffet?
No.
I'm in.
I want to do that so bad. Just hear the clink of dishes in the background.
No, that's not
Sweetie, there's no dishes there. It's like paper plates and like
arteries slamming shut.
Yeah, that's arteries slamming shut.
For those listeners who aren't aware, it's actually Canada's only KFC buffet,
Yes.
and it's gorgeous.
And for some reason, it matters.
It does matter.
It matters to Brad Wall.
Amazing thing.
Burn the fucking place down.
He's talking about Weyburn.
So was it your mom stopped doing the job she was doing, and
why'd you settle?
all moved to Weyburn?
Well, no, our family's originally from Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Also. But I was born in Revelstoke, BC, and I moved to Quebec City when I was like 4 months old.
Okay.
I've lived everywhere in Canada except for New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and PEI. New Brunswick and PEI. I've lived in Nova Scotia. And I lived in Mobile, Alabama, and Hollywood Beach, Florida.
Wow.
And in Central America, but that was only for 9 months.
That's
That
pretty
barely
good.
counts.
No.
So that's a few places.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So you indoctrinated yourself. What prompted your unindoctrination?
Oh, I actually read the Bible.
Okay.
Well, but before that, it was actually... It had nothing to do with the atheist movement because it didn't exist, because it was still the stage 1 atheism where everybody was just kind of their own thing. Mm-hmm. And this is pre-internet still, so communication is still like
By pterodactyl.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
but on my rock,
pigeon.
I was watching I saw all of those starving African kid commercials.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, that's the cradle of civilization. If God doesn't care enough to feed those people and keep them alive, then he can't exist.
Isn't the cradle of civilization the Middle East?
No, that's the beginning of Christianity, supposedly. The cradle of civilization
Yeah.
was in Africa.
No, the first cities were in the Middle East.
No. That's
Civilization
where you're
meaning
wrong.
cities.
Okay, well, I was like 10. So
Okay.
As a 10-year-old, you were
You know.
retarded, kid.
We'll let you slide on that one.
Sorry, dude.
Jeez,
Sorry.
didn't have all your facts straight. Fucking 10-year-old.
Pre-internet. Where was the nearest library?
Sorry.
I used to go to the library.
Did you have an Encyclopedia Britannica in your house?
In some of them.
So anyway,
in some of the houses, I wasn't allowed to touch books. But anyway,
so anyway, you decided that God didn't exist because kids were starving.
yeah, because he just couldn't.
That's fair.
And then when I was confronted by people, well, I said what I say now. Well, if he does exist, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Because that's not fucking cool.
Yeah.
Because he gives cancer to kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Among other things. Interesting.
So that was when you decided not to believe, but
right.
You've gone through other stages and believed other silly things.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, we both have.
Like what? Like what?
Oh, I guess we'll talk about this with you, too. But
Yes, Bill.
I believed some crazy things before.
Not me.
So after deciding that God couldn't exist,
Xenu?
It was totally Xenu.
no, metaphysics.
Oh.
What is your definition? Or describe your...
Well, in the belief system in metaphysics, the space between molecules is so vast that there's no reason we can't pass through
solid
objects. It's only our perception that stops us from doing it.
Or the electroweak nuclear force, one of the two.
Yeah, well, you got to know about that stuff, eh?
Yeah.
There's only 4 forces. Come on.
A lot of it was written by Richard Bach, was that kind of crap, but
yeah,
that was only a couple years of stupid.
What else?
Really high.
It was a little while of running really hard into a wall, going bang. Oh, I just didn't believe hard enough. Bang. Oh, I just got to believe hard.
No, there is something in quantum mechanics that says that there's some number of times you'd have to statistically run into a wall. Some ridiculous, like 10 to the 59 times or something stupid, where you could quantum tunnel through. You would eventually, like all your molecules.
I think the wall would break first, wouldn't it?
But that's
the wall would probably break first, wouldn't it?
No, but in theory, there is a certain amount of probability that something will quantum, like one atom will quantum tunnel through something. But then 2 atoms much less likely, and then the number of atoms in your body much. But technically, there is just like X number of monkeys in a room will eventually make Shakespeare sort of thing, but not in like the time scale of the universe.
So the idea of being able to go through a solid object like a wall, it wasn't the ability to move through the wall.
Yeah.
It's the ability to remove the whole idea of that wall existing from your own existence.
Oh.
So it's not you're moving through the wall. There is no wall.
Okay. You sure your mom just didn't say you're not believing this anymore because I don't want any more concussions? Or like,
I have a very thick skull.
There is no wall. I like that.
Was it around the Matrix time?
No.
No.
You probably
that
read,
came later,
yeah,
actually.
and it tied in with our beliefs. So.
And it did. Yeah. So it was very good confirmation bias.
Yeah, it worked really
played
well.
right in.
Oh my God, I still believe Keanu Reeves now.
He is the Messiah.
You probably read Jonathan Livingston Seagull when you were in school.
No,
most
not
people
cool.
did.
I think so.
It's Richard Bach. He also wrote a book called Illusions: The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah, and that's where the ideas come from.
Yeah,
it's basically a modern day Jesus. It's like, you know what? No, fuck it. I quit. I'm out.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
And you and Corey were like going around believing this together. Is this correct?
Just that all reality was
so
based
cute.
on
We
perception.
believed it at the same time.
But really,
that's what happens when you're friends for that long.
But really,
so adorable.
Since truth is subjective, that means reality is subjective, which means it is true. Right?
Yeah.
Perception dictates reality. So anyway.
Yeah.
And here you are on an atheist podcast.
Yeah.
And a skeptic podcast.
And a skeptic podcast.
Actually, I'm on a skeptics podcast.
Right.
The atheism just kind of falls hand in hand with skepticism.
It kind of does, yeah.
We use the term atheist, though, because it matters. So
skepticism matters more.
Yeah.
It has more direct results.
Definitely.
So when did you decide that eating babies is okay?
yesterday.
That's kind of always just been a thing.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Maybe he learned it in.
Seeing as you ask everybody else that, we should
Yes.
probably ask you that.
That was
Okay,
I
if
have
you
42 babies in my Lamborghini account.
What kind
Or
of
baby
babies?
account. 42 babies in my baby account. Baby Lamborghinis.
Baby Lamborghinis.
Lamborghini babies.
So if you could, what was the question? If you could speak to any politician, what would you ask them?
Oh,
Is that correct?
that's really easy, actually. It would be Bill Clinton.
Okay.
And what the fuck were you thinking about getting rid of
With
Glass-Steagall? What the fuck?
That
Getting rid
was
of
dumb.
what?
Why did you destroy the American and global economy, you motherfucker? That's it. Well, not the global economy, but
I like the idea of asking Brad Wall why his head is so far up his ass.
he's not a real politician.
That's a waste. It's a
He's-
waste
he
of this
exists.
wish.
Yeah.
He exists.
I don't know who.
But the
I
answer you probably would be like,
Yeah, that's true.
Muffled.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd like to have questions for Kevin Doherty, the finance minister.
Yeah.
so would a lot of people.
I spoke to him when he was campaigning, and he was not very friendly.
Well, when you open up with, so where the fuck did all the money go?
Well, he wasn't the finance minister when maybe he still was. But it was, I don't know. Was he always the finance minister? I forget. But
Yeah, I can't think.
I asked him about the religion thing. And he was like, the Christmas message thing.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, well, he's a Christian. Yeah.
Eye roll. Yeah.
But he just was like completely like, I don't know.
Yeah, they just don't get it, eh?
No, they don't.
Don't care.
All right, and you're married
Yeah.
and have a son.
Still,
How
yeah.
long have you been married?
9 years.
9 years.
Now, the cool thing is, a lot of my friends were married before me.
And have
And
since
a
divorced.
lot of them made fun of me and said that there's no way my marriage would work.
Well, I didn't do that.
Because Jen and I got married after knowing each other for 6 weeks.
Wow.
All of the people that made fun of me are now divorced.
That's what they get. It's a causal relationship, I think. It's not just a correlation.
Those
It's
guys.
causal.
Scientific.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm married.
Yeah.
To a lovely woman.
She's fantastic.
You
She's-
don't deserve her. No, I'm.
No, that's okay. You can.
You can say that. Everybody agrees. But you guys know his wife a lot better than I do. I never actually have spent much time getting to know her.
I've only met her once.
Okay.
Well, I know her best except for Dustin. You
No,
come yet.
that's not true.
Oh, you do?
I dated her for 3.5
Oh,
years.
that's true.
Dated her
I kind of know a lot about
for
her.
3 months,
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Shit.
So-
Never mind.
Corey knew her back in the day, too.
Not well.
No.
Yeah.
That's
I like her.
crazy.
I think she's lovely.
She's
So do I.
cool.
So do you. That's good. That's excellent.
Probably keep her. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, unless you're the other side of that marriage. You've been married 9 years and it's just like, you know, you have the hallway sex. Fuck you, no, fuck you. But for some reason, you're not getting divorced.
It's hallway sex.
Yeah, we got lots of
I'm
time
not
left.
cool.
Yeah. Hallway sex is where you pass each other in the hallway and fuck you, no, fuck you. That's hallway sex.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie History of Violence?
That's what I was thinking of when you said that. Viggo Mortensen having sex on the stairs.
It was so awkward.
It was awkward because I think I watched that movie with my mom.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's what I thought of. Hallway sex.
That's what I
And
thought
I'm
of too.
going to ask
Like
myself a
literal.
question because it's one that they asked you and
Just
I really wanted
interview
to answer.
yourself.
Yeah.
What?
The
take it
biggest
over.
problem facing the world right now
Yes.
is people not understanding their own ignorance and not accepting the fact that their ignorance isn't as valid as other people's knowledge. Because if people accepted their ignorance and understood it and understood that other people were more knowledgeable and accepted their knowledge, then none of the problems that exist would exist.
That's fair.
I think that's related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
And
Angela's
biases
answer.
too. Bias is another thing.
But
There's
ironically,
nothing
the
wrong
other
with like confirmation bias if you're right.
No.
The other side of that, though, is I don't think people should just accept what other people say as truth. Even I have to accept that what you say is truth because.
Oh, I'm not saying what you say is truth, but if every single scientist in one field agrees with something.
But I think it's perfectly fine to demand of those scientists to explain to you what their evidence is. Like that. Like it's a two-sided thing. Like you can't just refuse to ever believe
is available, right?
Yes.
So if all these assertions have been made by pick a science, I don't care which one. Every single document that they've written is available if you want to read it. Right?
Yeah, but I think scientists also have a duty to make their work understandable by lay people. Like I think that it's not okay to just publish in obscure journals, and these papers are not readable by normal humans, like unless you're an expert. I think that scientists have a responsibility.
Sure, they do
to disseminate. So I think the desire to question is great and fine, but it has to be based on reasoning. Right, you can't just be like, I don't believe you because it's not my worldview, and la 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 la. I won't listen to anything you say. It has to be.
But I think
accessible.
that ignorance is more prevalent than curiosity.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And the desire to understand, because people will just be like, I don't understand how global warming and environmental change are the same thing. They can't be because they're not the same words. So I'm just going to say it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. They're not willing to even try to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to question, but they got to push past that and try to understand based on evidence.
Because the education system isn't necessarily built around teaching critical thinking skills.
It's not at all.
Yes, that's what I think the big issue is we have to indoctrinate our children not in religion but in critical thinking.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
I deal with this regularly because I deal with high school kids all the time, and I get to be the third party who doesn't have any say in anything. So I actually teach critical thinking in my short little stay that they have with me. And
Great.
Students are always like, oh, I didn't know any of this stuff.
Right.
You know,
Really?
like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you need to really start like thinking about a lot of different angles and viewpoints and stuff. Like, I'm like, it's not worth just having a black and white view of reality all the time. So
it's very unnatural if you're not used to thinking that. It's really like I've done this with students before as well. You touch on this, Renee, where you tell students things and they regurgitate it back to a test. To me, that's not real learning. I would tell my students things and then I want them to infer something. Now, if you truly understood, Newton's law of gravity, now you get to tell me, okay, here's the Earth, here's the Moon. I'm halfway between. Which way is my force pointing? Like, where am I pulling?
What should we expect from this now?
Infer.
And every single subject, every single teacher should be able to add that to the way they teach. Even cooking. I'm an avid cook. Renee does it for a living. You love cooking.
Yep.
So when you bake a loaf, when you bake,
stop there because he doesn't.
I don't know. I know Corey doesn't cook.
I don't cook worth a shit.
Sometimes.
So here's a question for any of you: when you bake cinnamon buns, why does it have to be at 450 for 27 minutes or whatever? Why that temperature?
It doesn't have to be at 450.
Well, whatever temperature that.
Is that related to the yeast?
Actually, it's directly related to chemical reactions.
Well, but that's true of everything in cooking. That's
no,
most...
but a lower temperature.
It's the lamest answer I've ever heard.
No. This is what I'm saying. A lower temperature, you want to get the right chemical reactions for things to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're whisking.
I do my cinnamon buns at 400.
Well, whatever. I don't bake much. I was just using that as an example. Let's say you're making.
Deeply into that. I just bake cinnamon
Let's say you're whipping up lemon pie. What's the topping?
Meringue.
Meringue. Why is it mostly recommended you use a brass bowl?
Shit.
It has nothing to do with heat transfer.
I almost know the answer, but I can't think of it.
If an acid touches brass, what will brass give up?
Oh.
I don't know.
An electron. Or whatever it'll give up. It'll give off something. It'll give up something, which helps to make the froth fluffier. Right? There is a physical and chemical reason for every temperature that you use in cooking.
And different ingredients like salt and baking soda and baking powder. Those provide different things.
In home ec or in teaching or going for for your blue seal. None of that is taught.
They
to
just
anyone.
teach you how to follow a recipe.
Yeah. So it's again,
Yeah.
it's just regurgitation, even in cooking.
Conversely, I think that kind of philosophy could also be useful in public health issues, like explaining to people why this vaccine is necessary, what it prevents against, what are the risks of it, of helping, what are the risks of having a bad outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And on it, like as a parent, I'd go to the nurse to get my son vaccinated. Well, why does this happen? And they don't even know. Like they're not taught. Like humans should be taught the reasons behind things.
I think
we
if
should
Mike
all
were
ask
still
why.
here, his answer to everything would be: we need philosopher kings running countries.
Philosophers and
Well,
scientists.
yeah, like there's no bias there though.
I think we need a culture of
totally
philosophers.
bias
We need a
there.
culture of questioners and a culture of people who demand evidence and reasons for why things happen and why we do
and
things
also
one way.
like allowing things to be up for debate. Certain things, not necessarily vaccinations.
and
Vaccinations
media,
should be up for debate. And you know what? There has been an
that's-
overwhelming amount of evidence in respected journals that vaccines are safe. That's the debate. We win. That's it.
right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In that way,
exactly.
definitely. For
well,
sure.
actually, I read this online. It was on my Facebook
Then
feed.
it must
and
be
I
true.
completely agree with it. It is true.
It must be true because you read it online and it's on your Facebook.
Exactly.
Vaccines are causing me to gray and to gain weight.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. Did I send that to you? I
think
sent
they
that
call
to
it.
you.
It's all
Instead
over
of-
the
I
internet.
think it's
Instead of
called
dying as a
aging.
baby.
Yeah, it's aging.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
because you didn't die
Because I
because you
didn't
got
die
your
in childhood.
vaccines,
Yeah.
you continue to age.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Birth, the leading cause of death.
And
Birth is the
okay.
leading
My
cause of
son's
death.
autistic, and even if vaccines caused autism, he would still get vaccinated and would still get autism because I'd rather have my son be autistic than dead.
Because autism isn't a death sentence.
No. And autism also isn't a life sentence.
Right?
That's right.
If parents are aggressive and actually work with their child, a lot of the issues can be resolved, and they can lead a very normal life.
Autism also isn't caused by vaccines.
No, I know. That's what I said. If it was, I would still vaccinate
I
my
understand. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's.
But it isn't.
one of the things that the anti-vax movement really pushes is the idea that
There weren't any
autism is worse
autistic.
than polio.
Yeah.
Autism didn't exist
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Yeah.
That's going to be offensive to you as a parent of a child with this condition because they're basically saying autism is worse than death, right? So your child is can be perfectly happy and have a perfectly fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Even being on the spectrum, right? Like,
Yeah.
right?
It all comes down to they didn't really understand it.
Yeah,
How many
that's
years
right.
ago? It's relatively.
It wasn't
new
a
thing.
term.
Wasn't a term. Yeah, like
There can't be anything in this term if the term didn't exist.
50
Yeah,
years
hear
ago,
you.
if your kid had
He would have been a retard
exactly
20 years ago.
Yeah,
100
Or-
years ago, women were hysterical because they didn't have orgasms.
Yeah, now women are just hysterical.
Yeah, they cured that by giving vibrators, or the doctors had to do it.
Yep. They invented vibrators because doctors' hands were getting sore.
Oh my god!
Uh-oh.
There's an earthquake going on in Saskatchewan right now.
Dave's destroying the place.
It's just my chair failing.
We've got the bad chair.
He's getting really interested
My
in the
chair fails.
conversation. I should have been a doctor.
In the 19th century.
He missed his calling.
Yeah, except
I'm sure there's still opportunities like that out there, Dave.
Oh,
McGav
yeah.
East, right? Like it's gonna be
I
fun.
was going to say in the 19th century, hygiene wasn't exactly up to the standards it is now.
Nope.
Bathing didn't
And some
happen
people
as
some people don't like cottage cheese.
Okay, so we're gonna move on from
Yeah,
Gumby.
he's
We're
fired.
done. Gumby's done.
much. On that note.
So we've got another member, the always amazing Dave
That's me.
is our member of our crew, but you haven't always been an atheist.
I have a long story, so I'll try to not be very long.
Be long as you need.
Yeah.
Well, we have 25 minutes of broadcasting left.
So you give yourself 20 minutes.
I'll give myself about 20 minutes. Okay, so back in no, just kidding. I don't know. I've always been, I guess, for a long time in my life, like spiritual in some way, like before.
Before your soul got crushed.
Yeah. No, but I always had like spiritual ideas. I wasn't like super formal religious or anything like that, like for most of my life. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic school system, so you just attend church and do those things. But I wasn't like hardcore into that or anything. I was more into like paranormal stuff, and I was always like terrified of alien abduction and ghosts and all that shit when I was a kid. And I was fascinated by it. Like I researched it like crazy and read books on it and shit like that. But then I was always like, I always had a belief in a god or some kind of thing. And I don't know, I guess I would pray. I'd make deals, the whole making deals with God thing.
Yes.
I did that all the time. Well, if I don't do this for this long, will I get this? Like that kind of shit.
Nice. That was the thing people did?
Yeah.
No, you can totally make deals with God.
If I don't jerk off for like a week, can I you let me date this girl? Like seriously, like this.
Why would God give you credit for that? Like, what is that? Like, what does he care if you jerk off?
Apparently he cares.
But here's the question: why does God care if you're jerking off?
Exactly.
I don't think he cares.
But that's a big part of
but
religion,
he's watching you while you
it's
do
like
it.
deal making. It's like I behave well, and then I get like all this stuff.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, I kind of did that naturally, though. Nobody told me that idea. I just kind of came up with that idea, which is weird.
Right.
I don't know. So I wasn't like overly religious most of my life, but my mom. It's a long story, but there's so much to this story I can't even tell you. But basically, my brother ran away and was going to kill himself and all this stuff, and then my mom obviously lost her mind and became very religious and devout after that because my brother came back. And,
after she prayed type thing?
Yeah, but there is a weird story in this. But, I mean, whatever. It's coincidence. But my brother, when he was in Calgary, he was, sitting in this place. And he was like, because he went all the way to Calgary. And this dude... Seriously enough, I'm not kidding. My brother's an atheist too, so this is him just telling the story. But a dude all dressed in white walked into. Well, I'm not. This is the story. This is a true story. Walked into the diner, saw my brother, walked straight over to him, started talking to him, convinced him to go back home, left the diner. So. Of course. I mean, it's a crazy story. It is a crazy story, regardless how you look at it.
Who the fuck was that guy?
Why did he do that? So of course, the initial inclination is, that was God. That was a spiritual moment, blah, blah. It was powerful either way. Mm-hmm. My brother came home, all that happened. So I became a little more religious out of that. And my mom became extremely religious out of that. Like she's still to this day, her entire life revolves around religion. So, and in a weird way, because she's not. I know more about her religion than she does, which is kind of funny. Huh. Like I'll tell her things about well, actually the catechism says this and blah 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 blah, and she's like, no, it doesn't.
That's not unusual.
It's just God. It's God. I know God. I know Jesus. Just doesn't actually even understand some of the things they're saying. So whatever. But that's another story.
How that works.
Yeah, but so my mom is still super religious. She's somehow gotten my dad to be more religious over the last 10 years. Maybe because nobody else is around, it's just her, and he needs that companionship. I don't know. But
age tends to be a factor with
age. Yeah, the community in Weyburn is all old people who are religious, so mostly.
Yeah.
Or fat people who like KFC.
Or fat people who like KFC who are also religious.
Yeah, they tend to be religious too. On Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Well, you got to pray. It's not going to give you a heart attack.
That's
but anyways,
right. You got to
sorry.
confess your
We're
sins.
totally running down there as a crew sometime.
We should.
Fucking love the buffet.
No.
We have places to stay.
We'll just go without. We'll
We can
go next
record the
time
podcast
Corey
from
has
my
a
house.
cold.
No.
Yeah.
No, anyway, so
As
that
soon
all
as he
happened.
says, "Hey, Ange, you want to take over the show?" I'll be like, "Guys, let's go to Weyburn."
KFC. When Corey's not here, we'll do it. Yeah. I don't know. So I did that, and then I guess I was moderately spiritual throughout most of my teenage life, but I was more into new age ideas and stuff.
Right.
You were stoned most of the time.
Yeah, well, I was.
That's pretty standard for.
But I wasn't actually until about grade 12. I held off on that
It seems like that new agey type stuff is
Yeah.
pretty standard for
Well-
our age group and that time, and especially in Weyburn. I don't know. It seemed to really have a foothold there. Now,
Well, actually, stories about Gumby's wife, because we dated all throughout high school, is she was super into that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I remember...
She's cured now.
Yeah. I'm
New
glad about
age,
that.
not pot, right?
You're welcome.
Yes. Well, because I mean, a lot of the crazy things we used to think about, like, oh, these rocks
Just to
will give you
clarify.
this power, you know.
Right.
Yeah. What's that?
I was just clarifying.
Oh, yes. No, yeah.
She doesn't listen anyway, so it doesn't
No.
matter.
No, but anyway, so a lot of that kind of stuff. And then I guess when I was in university, well, I joined the AA thing, so I was in that for years. And you know, it's not all sigh. Actually, a lot of good things came out of that. And as much as there's certain things in that community I don't like, there's a lot of great things that came out of that for me. Just because it was a place to go where you didn't have to there was no social expectation of like,
right.
I got to go party, I got to go do this. I had a place to just chill with people and hang out, and that was cool. And I met a lot of really cool people. And you know, some people pushed really religious ideas, a lot of other people didn't.
Sorry, my side was on the ineffectiveness of the 12-step program.
Yes, well, that's a whole nother argument, but but either way, I mean, I wasn't ever really an alcoholic or a drug addict, but I definitely had some, I guess, social problems, and it led me there. And now I know I'm not a raging addict of any sort. Like that's ridiculous. I can drink a glass of wine and not care for the rest of the week, you know, like things like that. But anyway, so that community kind of gave me a new spirituality, which was a little more about like helping others and reflecting on myself. It wasn't like Christianity where it was, I don't know, like praising this and worshiping that and blah, blah, blah.
Jen says that you've always had a Batman kind of persona.
A Batman persona.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That he's always wanted to really be able to help people, but not get any recognition for it. He just cares. That's all he cared about.
He's a masked vigilante.
A masked vigilante. Yeah, I guess I kind of did that a lot.
Are you super rich?
No, I wish.
It doesn't help,
Sorry. No, but anyway, so then I had the AA
No one
thing.
named Alfred in
I
your
did
life?
that. It was helpful in some ways. It helped me like learn how to self-reflect a lot better, how to speak better, how to listen better, all those kinds of things that actually were really beneficial. But I outgrew that eventually. University, I spent some time in the Catholic Church again, mainly because I had spirituality back in my life a lot stronger. And I just wanted to be in a community that wasn't like a party university community, that was a bit more like, let's do good stuff, let's hang out.
Right.
You know, some of the people I met in that group, I just fucking hate those people, I'll be honest. But that's where I met my wife, too. And then
You don't
we
hate
went,
that person, do you?
No.
Oh,
no.
good.
No, but we definitely went through some struggles, because when halfway through my social work degree, I was like really challenged to be honest with myself and like go through all my incongruencies as a person. Social work, if you actually listen to what the classes are saying, should change you.
Right.
There's a lot of people who don't listen. But anyway, so then I kind of moved away from it. And that's really what our marriage was based around initially, was like our spiritual stuff. And it was really difficult for a long time, I'll be honest. It was like years of figuring that out again.
Right.
But now, you know, like I'm fairly just nothing. I don't know. I don't really think about it, to be honest. I just kind of do stuff. It's nothing I really care to reflect on anymore. But my wife, you know, she still kind of has a little bit of a spiritual idea in her mind and stuff like that. She's not like religious or super out there, but you know, still open to some things that I'm kind of like, well, yeah, no. So anyways, but I'd call myself an atheist. I don't subscribe to anything, but I also don't I'm not one of these raging people who's like, everything is wrong. Like, I don't fucking know. That's basically all I say is like, I don't fucking know. Like, I mean, obviously you don't have proof to tell me this is real, but I'm not going to tell you everything that happens. I don't fucking know. You know, like
I think I touch on that in my life a lot too, because I'm still really into like fantasy novels and that kind of television and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I realize that those are the times in my life where I suspend my disbelief.
Yeah.
And then I realize that religious people suspend their disbelief for their entire
Yeah.
For a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
The irony of that is, of course, is the ones that are really religious can't watch a fantasy show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They take the
Yeah.
other stuff too seriously.
Yeah,
they
just-
can't even.
yeah, it's like-
No, I can't watch the Smurfs.
Harry Potter is evil. Yeah, Smurfs.
The Care Bears? Are you fucking kidding me?
So funny.
So, in what way? How does that affect the way that you raise your son?
Oh yeah, a lot. I mean, I didn't baptize my son, obviously, and that's the first kid in our family who wasn't
Okay,
baptized.
wow.
Which my parents didn't make a big deal out of, but we're kind of like, oh, okay.
They
I'm sure they
probably totally baptized him when you weren't even
They
there.
privately baptized him. I'm 100% sure my mom grabbed her holy water and did bullshit.
Did the deal.
But anyway, yeah, so I mean, I definitely allow him to just absorb anything. I don't tell him one thing is wrong or one thing is right. I just like say, here's this information, here's this stuff, here's that. And he kind of just flip-flops all over the place and thinks about things. And I just let him grow in his own way. Like I don't push anything down his.
That's cool.
Just to think about stuff.
That's one thing I want to talk
Yeah.
about too. Sorry to interrupt
No,
your
that's okay.
story time. Story time. Story time. Once upon a time.
Yay!
The first time Loki got curious about churches, we were driving by one, and he said, "Mom, what's that building?" And she's like, "Oh, that's a place where people go and tell stories." He's like, "Are they good stories?" And she's, "Not really. They're kind
Not
of
really.
boring." Oh, I don't want to go there.
Yeah, no, you know, like
That's the end of his religious.
my parents are super religious and do watch him sometimes. So he gets exposed to church. He's been at church. He sees it, and sometimes we asked him once, like, "What do you think? Like, is God real?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." He's like, "I don't think so." He's like, kind of like, you know, like he has thought about it. He
What,
just-
have you ever
really
said,
make
is
sense to me,
Spider-Man
but-
real? He's like, well, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
What's to say?
he never falls for any of these like magical characters like Santa Claus or like he
Really?
knows it's just kind of fun and silly.
Right.
Like, so I don't know. I try my best just to let him navigate and just give him tools to think. And that's what I've always told my wife. Like, we have to just let him make his own decision. And you know what? He might decide to be religious one day, and I can't disown him for that.
No,
Like, I
that's
just-
right.
He'll be his own person.
He'll be his own person, and that's fine. I said, like, he can do
Yeah.
whatever he wants, you know, like, but I'll always just give him my honest feedback. And
Dawkins
you know.
Dawkins advises that in the God Delusion. He talks about it at length, that the children should make their own choices. And
Exactly.
It's not. He has a problem with when they say, "Oh, this is a picture of a Hindu child with a Catholic child and a Muslim child." Like, no, these children are not
This
these
is just
religions.
children.
They're just children.
Yeah.
Let them become adults who choose which religion they're
Well,
part
that's
of.
that same question. Like, when did you first become an atheist? It's like when I was born, because religion has to be taught.
But is that so though? Because every human culture has supernatural
Yeah.
beliefs. If left,
Not when you're born.
not when you're born.
That's what I'm
but-
saying. Everybody's born an atheist.
But where do they come from?
But I think
That's
it's
the
it's
question.
it's hard to argue that it's not a natural
because
outcome of the
you're
human
still-
mind to come up with supernatural
You're
explanations.
still born
for the
into
world.
that culture, and then that's where you develop
but-
it. You know.
The only way you could ever completely determine if it's nature or nurture is if you put a bunch of kids in like a terrible experiment where they
Yeah.
But you're not born Roman Catholic.
Well, I know that.
No, you don't have that level of specificity. Yes, true.
I think the idea
But
that you have an aversion.
a predisposition to
Yeah.
supernatural belief.
That is something that's actually social sciences would argue is true.
There's a
Yeah.
philosophy. There's a theory that this is based on. Like, it's actually an evolutionary advantage to be able to think in terms of supernaturalness.
Yeah, because you can think past your own lifetime.
Well, or because you can simplify the world around you. For example, if you think of the tree, or maybe something more simple, like a tiger is having a specific force that guides it, then you don't have to think to yourself, okay, there's a tiger. Let's see. It's like you can just infer things, and you can, I don't know, guess what's going to happen based on attributing actions or events to things that aren't directly logical.
Sure. So you can infer that there's a base spiritualness to humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
When they're
But-
born.
yeah, but not the specific Holy Trinity,
That still
blah, blah,
doesn't
blah,
make
blah,
them
blah.
not atheists, because atheist is the belief of a god or a higher power. Spirituality doesn't require those.
So I define non-atheism as belief in anything supernatural.
No, I would consider that skepticism.
Sorry.
This sounds like something we have to actually look into.
Potato.
Well, semantics are very important.
I want to ask David a question.
Oh, yeah.
Me too, as soon as you're done.
Okay.
What's the biggest issue that you think
facing the world today?
Actually, I would say the same thing Gumby said, pretty much. I think that people don't think enough in general. I just think people do things based on emotion way too much.
Yeah. And media.
And including myself. I mean, I can be guilty of that sometimes.
You too.
You know?
Not me.
Never. No.
I'm immune.
I really just think it's just, we have an epidemic of truthiness, like people believing what their gut tells them. And
I love that word.
All that stuff, right? So it's like, this is the Colbert word. Word. Yeah, you knew that.
I love Stephen Colbert.
So, I think that's the biggest problem. I think we don't teach that. And yes, in schools, they do not teach critical thinking properly.
No. At all.
Very,
the teachers
very
don't
little.
know it. They don't,
they don't care.
No.
That's the thing, yeah.
They don't
There's not enough
teach.
good
They just
ones.
tell you things.
Well, a lot of them really believe in the social hierarchy of what school is, right? So, so they don't give a shit if you're questioning them. They want you to follow what's supposed to be done.
But teachers are a product of our education system. If they never got taught critical thinking, then they don't teach it.
Exactly.
You have to stop that cycle somewhere. And
you throw it in post-secondary. Because the difference between what a teacher learns in high school and what they learn in university, there's nothing.
9 minutes.
They don't really pick up any new information in university.
It's possible for that to be the case. It shouldn't be the case.
Well, just for a regular, straight-up teaching degree.
Yeah.
There's
you have to do another degree in order to do a teaching
There's no
degree.
specificity there.
But normally you have to do a degree in something and then do a teaching degree. So that degree in something, at least.
No.
Every teacher I know has done that path.
Yeah, no, I know
Not
teachers
in-
that just have a teaching degree.
Maybe that's a Saskatchewan thing for you.
Bachelor of Education.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere else I've ever lived, you got to get a teaching degree.
You can specialize, but yeah.
Really?
With
God, I got to move. My son's going to get
stuff like
too tough by
education. Though stuff
retards.
is education
We do
is a
have the worst
provincial
system.
thing, but it's federally mandated.
Yes,
So-
but it's
so-
not federally mandated that teachers get a degree and then get an education degree.
Well, that's what I mean by
provincial.
by mandated. The core curriculum, what they have to be considered educated by the rest of the country, there's a core set, right? So a teacher educated here, the basis of what they need for an education would be the same as it'd be in Ontario. My question is, have you always been brown?
No,
Yes.
sometimes I'm lighter, depending on the sun. If you ever seen me when I'm in Chile and I tan, like it's crazy. I look like a different person altogether. I don't
Why
know.
are you so obsessed
You look like
with this?
you have less rights.
What's that?
you look like you have less rights.
Yeah, basically. I look like the ones who should be deported. No, just kidding. No, I can pass as anything. First Nations, Italian, Pakistani. I've fooled everybody. It's crazy.
Well, I know in
The
Weyburn you got
like-
First Nations a lot.
Everybody just thinks I'm native all the time.
But that's because you live in Regina or Saskatchewan,
Yeah,
and that's
just
just a
Saskatchewan.
huge population here. So
yeah.
it's just not. It's just
It's true.
there isn't a huge Chilean population here, so it's natural
No.
for people to think, oh,
But a
must be
Chilean
native.
will recognize immediately I'm Chilean.
Is that right?
Like they know. Like they just see the features and they know right away.
Well, he doesn't look native at all.
Yeah.
But Trevor Noah talks about this, right? Walking down the street and having somebody be like, oh, and they're looking at each other like, oh, the recognition. And the other guy's like, starts speaking Spanish to him because he thinks he's Puerto Rican. You know, like it's just like.
I get asked what res I'm from. That's my question. Oh, so what res you from, eh? And it's like,
Just say Weyburn. Just say Weyburn.
The
Stanley
thing
Buffalo.
with Saskatchewan is it's full of bigots, immigrants, and rednecks,
Yeah, there's.
and farmers.
All right,
Some of those.
we're gonna cut this off for listener feedback. We got an email.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Did you read it?
All right, we got
didn't write
6.5 minutes.
Will sent us an email, and first he apologized for not keeping in touch because it's been a while since he emailed
Yeah,
us.
it has been.
Oh.
So then he went on to say that he thought Jeremiah, you missed our last guest, was a great fit for the show. He thought that he suited us really well.
Great.
And that the out of the ordinary type discussion we had, which was just kind of off the cuff, he thought that was good. And then he sent a list of his favorite podcasts, which I'll add into the show notes.
Are we on it?
Yeah, actually we are.
It would suck if we weren't.
He describes us as atheist, a bit random, smart. So somebody thinks we're smart.
when I was on.
And a bit random.
And
which
a bit
is
random.
very
Yeah,
true.
that's totally fair.
We should totally have him on the show. He sends us the most mail.
He does send us the most mail. Maybe that deserves a reward of some kind.
So, like, not being on the show.
Yeah.
Is that a
Not a
punishment,
punishment. Not a punishment.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't bring you on the show.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
If you don't keep writing, we will bring you on the show.
Okay, so he was talking about his Christmas bit, and he mentioned that they did a thing called Yule,
Yeah.
which has basically all the normal Christmas stuff, but without any of the religious baggage. So he figured that was pretty cool, and that he recommended that people try that out if they want a secular alternative.
Keep the Yule and Christmas.
There you go.
But I thought your Yule was actually a pagan thing.
Yeah, I think it might be. Because he mentioned drunken debauchery and whatnot after the kids went to bed. So.
Yeah, so all the stuff like was on that Adam ruins everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yule is like a pagan practice.
Did Adam ruins everything do an Adam's ruin everything on Adam's ruin everything? Adam ruins everything?
No,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Not yet. That'll happen.
Okay.
They haven't quite gotten down
Let's
that black
cue that
hole.
outro music.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Outro music.
There it is. All right. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, just send an email to mail@brainstormblog.net or go to our website, brainstormblog.net, and go to the contact page. Check out our website for the demographic survey. There's a link up at the top. It says demographic survey. I've been on a couple other podcasts lately. First was The Wayward Atheists, where we discussed far-right fascism. So go listen to that. I'll put a link in the notes. And I was just interviewed on Inciting Incident podcast today. That one will be out on February 3rd. Anything else?
Pretty full of himself, isn't he?
Yeah, well, we got to promote the show somehow.
Yeah.
So that's...
We suck at doing it in any other
Yeah.
Just one last fuck Trump. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
fuck Trump.
Oh, we should have the fuck that guy thing.
No, he would like that. No fucking Trump.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Okay.
How did we miss out on that?
Fuck that guy, eh? Yeah. Make sure to check out the show notes on the website, brainstormblog.net. You can get bonus content, full-length ad-free episodes, and other bonuses by becoming a patron, just like Daryl, Will, Rob, Nathan, Destin, George, Stephanie, and Janet. Thank you guys for being a patron of the show. Join us in 2 weeks for the next live broadcast on Spreaker. Just enter Brainstorm Podcast into the Spreaker search bar. Remember to rate us and write a review on iTunes or Stitcher and hit that subscribe button. If you leave a review, then let us know so we can read it on the air. Thanks, Dave, for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover and for the intro and some of our ads. Thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info on our website. T-shirts, mugs, and other cool shit is available at our Cafe Press store, cafepress.ca/brainstormpodcastgear. And if you have a promo for a podcast or website and want us to play it, then just let us know. Thanks for listening. Make sure to join us on February 3rd with our guest Darren McKee from the Reality Check podcast. Thanks again, and remember, the truth matters.
Really? That's what you came up with?
That's what I'm fucking saying. Because it doesn't.
Sing it, brother.
It's out there somewhere.
Little better than X-Files. The truth is out there.
Yeah, the truth matters.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interaction sometimes with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Corey, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.